My guest today is Briar Prastiti. She is the winner, or was the winner, of the 2024 NZSO SOUNZ Tarling Trust Commission. And when you win that, you get your work performed by the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. And her work, which is called The Garden, gets its debut May the 31st at the Michael Fowler Centre. Briar joins me now. Congratulations, Briar.
Thank you, Brian.
I was listening to a computer simulation of the orchestra, of your piece, and the thing that struck me straight away, this wonderful shimmering string sound. It's like a sunny Mediterranean day. Yeah, that was fantastic. Were you happy with that when you put it down on paper or on the computer? You thought, this is working?
Yeah. Well, I love that you get that impression because obviously I have a connection with the Mediterranean and I love the beach. I love the landscape there and that shimmering quality of the light hitting the water. Though this is not about that, I like that you have that impression.
The garden, is it about any particular garden?
Not a particular garden that's in this physical reality that we live in, not a particular place, but I think it could have a connection to the garden that I grew up in, but it's more of an otherworldly garden.
And where was that garden you grew up in? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tauranga,
right?
Yeah, and we lived on not a big farm, a small, like a lifestyle block kind of farm. But when me and my sister, we grew up there, and it was quite a sheltered, a very creative childhood. There were a lot of trees. We grew up with horses, and we used to explore every corner of the property. Every little nook and cranny had a different world.
And how much of that garden experience involved you being in your own imaginary world, like a parallel world that the garden exists in? Yeah.
Yes, a lot of it. And sometimes when I was at school, actually, I used to go by myself. Sometimes when I felt that my friends were getting too much, I just kind of went off by myself and created an entire imaginary world by myself and go all the way around the periphery as far as you can go. When you're a child, you have
the school boundaries,
yep. But I always was going right along the edge of those boundaries and creating an entire odyssey. Yeah.
Were you already, when that was happening, creating your own tunes in your head?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with music, and I started learning piano at a young age, and I started writing my own music, and that's something I've always done. I remember my mum tells me that when I was a kid and we were in the car, I would be sitting in the back seat and I'd just be like humming and making up things, and she always thought it was really funny and cute. Yeah.
One of the other things about the garden, your composition, is the score.
Yeah.
And looking to my left, you brought it in. Is that your own artwork?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So I've done art as well from a young age because my mum, she's a visual artist, and so it kind of goes in the family. Myself and my sister also, we both do quite illustrative artwork. And it's just been another creative avenue.
Is that with ink, that work?
Yeah, that's with ink. A lot of my work is that kind of folkloric style. I'm a composer, but I consider myself more of an artist in an umbrella term that I have. My work goes through these multiple avenues, and art is one of them. So I love the idea of bringing them all together and melding that aesthetic together.
So I'm looking at this garden that you've created on the score of your musical work, The Garden, this artwork here, and I'm immediately thinking of the Garden of Eden. I'm thinking of Paradise and Paradise Lost. Is there something of that in your orchestral story, The Garden?
Yes, I mean, it's not that I thought initially of the Garden of Eden. However, I have my own kind of folklore that I'm uncovering as I go through my life about this place, this kind of ethereal, otherworldly place, which I have called the garden, because when I sense it, it kind of feels like a memory or a dream, but it's not those things. I get these flashes, these glimpses of this place, and often it is, I can see that it's a garden.
Not necessarily the garden of your childhood.
No.
Something else.
No, something else. But I know that when I do sense that, it goes very quickly, and I feel like this kind of longing to return to this place. But I don't claim to have invented this, because I think that it's been depicted multiple times throughout human history, and the Garden of Eden is one of the most known depictions of this
God
place.
says you got to leave.
Yeah.
You didn't follow the rules. I mean, one of the problems with the Garden of Eden story, as it's told a lot of the times at the moment, is Eve gets the blame, which I don't think is that fair. But the sense of humanity and human consciousness and logic and all the things that allow us to thrive as humans, but also give us maybe a sense of our own mortality and our ability to suffer in a way that maybe other creatures don't, is also part of that story. How we might have lived in this paradise, but our own human minds make it impossible for us to always be there. We had to leave, and we long to return to it.
Yes. I mean, they talk about how there was a split in consciousness. There was that I guess that's the idea of the Adam and Eve. That it was a moment of division, and it's this constant trying to reconcile this duality of our existence, and that the garden, I suppose, is like the wholeness, the kind of where we came from, the source of it all. And so we're here living this life.
Do you think that's also something to do with turning from a child to an adult? When we're children, it's easier for us to go to that place, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we necessarily have to lose it. I think that it's a matter of staying in touch with that part of ourselves, because it's just a part of ourselves, the child part. And it's often that we forget, and that it's, part of this piece is kind of speaking to that, where you might hear it, or you might experience something that makes you remember, and you're like, I understand this. I don't know why I understand it, but I do, and children are, they have such a vivid imagination, but I think that it's also because they're closer to the source. I mean, they're children. They haven't lived for very long. They came from this place. And over our lifetimes, we get so swept up in all of these narratives that take us away from it. And, it's that we need to come back to that pure, creative energy that children have.
You mentioned in the notes that you've written about the piece, the golden woman.
Yeah, so
Who or what?
Yeah, so that's another aspect of the folklore that it's kind of it's a part of my own lore.
Right.
But
this is your own folklore, not necessarily stuff that you picked up from other cultures or even your own.
Well, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But when I was about the age of 22, I had just come out of a really, really difficult living situation with some people, and I switched into a massive contrast where I lived by myself, and it was probably one of the most creative periods of my life, and something that I didn't even understand. But I used to go out at night and picking flowers and things, and I used to just get very, very deep into this world. And one of the things that came out of that was this drawing, this picture of a woman, and she was embedded in the nature. And she looked kind of alive but dead at the same time. And she looked a bit like me, it almost seemed like another version of myself. But at the time, I was still young and growing, And she seemed like this kind of wise version, this kind of more mature, this woman, and she's like the archetype, the archetypal woman embodying her power, So she's been a figure, I guess, for me underneath everything. And sometimes, later on in life when I was living in Greece and I was going through some difficult times, she appeared like in a kind of a vision, And there was one time in particular that she came very, very strongly, and I talked to her and asked her questions, and she gave me the answers very truthfully, and they weren't all answers that I wanted to hear, but they were true. So,
it's interesting because the last time I spoke with you, and that's when you were at Douglas Lilburn's old house as the composer in residence there, and you talked about, I think I sense a bit of supernatural stuff going on there, footsteps in the ceiling. And I remember the other thing you said, but that doesn't spook me.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, supernatural to me, to kind of to continue sort of describing what I think this is that it's just a parallel reality in that it's here all the time, that we all have this other version of ourselves, this other world, that it's like, in Alice in Wonderland where they say stepping through the looking glass. It's like, it's just a threshold.
Yeah.
So, no, it doesn't spook me at all. In fact, I want to encounter more of it because I think that we can learn from it.
Do you think it helps you composing?
I don't know, but probably does.
Did you write The Garden when you were at Douglas Lilburn's place?
No, I didn't, because I had already finished that residency in 2023, so this was after that.
Where did you write it, most of it?
Just at home in Karori, yeah.
Ah, that's where you live now?
Yeah.
In the clouds?
In the clouds,
yeah.
Yes.
What's the garden like at home?
Well, at the moment there isn't really a garden, but I do live very close to the Karori Cemetery.
Ah.
So I go there a lot. And it's definitely a place of inspiration there.
Have you come across the Golden Woman in Karori yet?
Well, she comes to me, yes. At various times. She doesn't always come, but sometimes I ask her to finish that whole folklore depiction of her. She lives in the garden, so the garden hosts her, yeah.
I'm speaking to Briar Prastiti. She is the winner of the NZSO SOUNZ Tarling Trust for 2024 Commission. That means that her work, The Garden, which we're talking about, will get its premiere with the NZSO in a few days from now, May 31st. Mm-hmm. Have there been any rehearsals yet?
Not yet. The first one will be in a couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I will meet the conductor and we'll talk about it, and yeah.
Who is the conductor going to be?
James Judd.
Ah.
Yeah. So very lucky to have such a great conductor with this work. Yeah.
And how excited are you about hearing this, not just on a computer manifestation of an orchestra, but the real thing?
I'm so excited. So excited. It's the most amazing opportunity to be working with a real orchestra. That's like, I still pinch myself that I even get that chance.
As well as creating amazing artwork, you make music. As you said, you see yourself as an artist, not just as a composer, and you make music in other realms outside the classical world, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What have you been doing recently?
So, outside of classical, I write music, like writing songs on guitar and vocals, and this comes under the name of Twin Ether. I started this when I was about 18, so it's one of the longest projects, I guess, that I have had going, but it took me a long, long time to finally release an album of my work, but it was very present for me all through my journey of writing, and very connected to this whole world as well. But aside from Twin Ether, there's also this other alter ego called Hydra Bitch, and that's
Hydra.
Hydra Bitch.
Right.
Yeah, and this is a complete departure in terms of the character of it. You know, it's electronic, it's pop, it's hip hop, it's kind of, you know, very different, you know, but it's a part of myself.
The Garden strikes me as a work where you put, as composers always do, but maybe some works more than others, a lot of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're putting a lot out there, maybe more than you have before in the classical world.
And I really, really hope to keep writing orchestral music and continue working on these projects, you know, releasing some albums with 20th and Hydra Bitch, and you know, just keep developing my craft.
Do you think, now that you're the same age as the Golden Woman, do you think that she'll stay with you? Or maybe at some point you might move on from her?
No, I think that she'll stay. Yeah.
I wonder if she'll stay the same age and you might get older.
There might be another, perhaps there'll be another sort of iteration of her later in a different stage of her development. But at the moment, she's just been this unchanging, immovable archetype. Yeah. And I don't really know what age she is, but that's, I guess, how she seemed. Yeah.
Briar, thanks for joining us today, and congratulations on winning the Tarling Trust Commission for 2024, SOUNZ NZSO, and looking forward to hearing your piece.
Thank you.
In the flesh.
Thank you for having me.